Commander Jack Murphy had been having a perfectly normal Tuesday until the aliens showed up. He was halfway through his second cup of coffee aboard the International Space Station Plus, the Plus having been added after they bolted on 3 new modules and a Tim Hortons, when Mission Control's voice crackled through his headset with uncharacteristic panic. "Commander Murphy, we've got multiple unidentified objects approaching Earth's orbit at impossible speeds." Jack sighed. "Houston, if this is another SpaceX surprise launch, I swear I'm going to." "They're not ours, Jack. They're not anyone's." He choked on his coffee, sending caffeinated globules floating around the command module. Through the station's main viewport, he spotted them, 7 obsidian vessels shaped like artistically angry squids, their hulls reflecting no light despite the glaring sun. "Well," Jack muttered, dabbing at the floating coffee with a cloth, "either someone's built some seriously classified hardware, or we're about to have a very interesting diplomatic situation." The interesting diplomatic situation began 12 minutes later, when the lead ship fired what could only be described as a purple death beam at downtown Cleveland. "They hit Cleveland," Jack shouted at his comm screen, where the president's national security advisor looked like she was contemplating a career change. "Who attacks Cleveland first? That's just insulting." "We don't have time for your Midwest rivalry, Commander," she snapped. "The Carthaxians." "The what now?" "That's what they're calling themselves in the message they broadcast just before attacking. The Carthaxians have hit 3 military installations, and yes, Cleveland. Casualties are minimal so far. They seem to be using some kind of precision weapons, but they're demanding Earth's immediate surrender." Jack scoffed. "And how's that working out for them?" The advisor's expression shifted to something almost like embarrassment. "Well, surprisingly poorly for the aliens, actually. The Ohio National Guard shot one of their ships down with conventional artillery." "You're kidding me." "I'm not. Apparently, despite having interstellar travel and purple death beams, they didn't expect us to shoot back. Their shields appear vulnerable to good old-fashioned kinetic projectiles. Also, a farmer in Nebraska rammed one of their scout ships with a combine harvester." Jack blinked slowly. "A combine harvester?" "Yes, he's being treated for minor injuries, and has already signed a book deal." Through the viewport, Jack watched as one of the alien vessels maneuvered oddly, like a drunk driver trying to parallel park. Another seemed to be spinning in place. "Commander," the advisor continued, "the UN Security Council is convening an emergency session, and they want you to lead the negotiation team." "Me? I'm an astronaut, not a diplomat. My idea of international relations is letting the ESA guys use our coffee machine. You're the highest-ranking military officer in space, which makes you humanity's closest representative to the alien fleet. Plus, you have that way with words." "If by way with words, you mean I once told the Russian Space Agency director he had the personality of a constipated bear, then sure. The UN feels your particular brand of directness might be valuable in this situation." Jack watched as 2 more alien ships arrived, their movements suggesting they were just as confused by Earth's resistance as the first group. "Fine," he sighed, already mentally drafting his resignation letter. "Tell them, I'll do it. But I want it on record that I think this is the worst idea since someone decided to put pineapple on pizza." As the advisor disconnected, Commander Jack Murphy gazed out at the alien fleet and the blue planet beyond. Humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, and it had devolved into a firefight within minutes. Somehow, he wasn't surprised. What did surprise him was that Earth appeared to be winning. 48 hours, and several questionable executive decisions later, Commander Jack Murphy found himself aboard the hastily repurposed Harmony 1 space station, which until recently had been a luxury orbital hotel for billionaires who'd run out of ways to flaunt their wealth on Earth. "This is ridiculous," Jack grumbled, tugging at the collar of his dress uniform. "I should be coordinating defense strategies, not playing meet and greet with the squids who just tried to redecorate Cleveland." Lieutenant Zoe Rodriguez rolled her eyes as she calibrated the Universal Translator, a device that had been theoretical until approximately 14 hours ago, when a team of linguists, computer scientists, and one suspiciously talented teenager from Estonia cobbled it together. "With all due respect, Commander," she said in a tone suggesting respect was optional, "your defense strategies would probably involve strapping rockets to baseball bats. That's why they sent me, someone who actually understands communication beyond shouting and pointing." Jack raised an eyebrow. "I was top of my class at NASA." "In what?" "Aggressive eyebrow deployment. Tactical assessment and crisis response, actually." He glanced around the opulent meeting room, with its gold-plated fixtures and champagne dispensers. "Though I'll admit, nothing in my training covered what to do when aliens attack, and then get confused when you hit back." Zoe finished her calibrations and straightened up. Unlike Jack's formal military attire, she wore the standard blue jumpsuit of the International Linguistic Corps, with patches showing proficiency in 12 Earth languages, and now, a hastily embroidered question mark, representing her new specialty in extraterrestrial communication. The Carthaxians requested this meeting, which means they're reassessing their strategy, she said. They've already withdrawn to a stable orbit after losing 3 ships to what they probably consider primitive weapons. Our job is to figure out why they attacked and convince them that continuing would be a monumentally stupid idea. So I'm supposed to tell space squids with death rays to go home because we'll get cranky if they don't. Essentially. But with diplomatic finesse, Jack snorted. Diplomatic finesse is why I failed my first psych evaluation for the Mars mission. Something about inability to sugarcoat hard truths, and concerning directness in high-stress situations. Which is exactly why you're perfect for this. Zoe checked her tablet. They'll be docking in 5 minutes. The xenobiologists say their atmosphere is compatible with ours, but their concept of personal space might be different, so try not to punch the alien ambassador if he gets too close. No promises. The docking procedure went smoother than expected, considering Earth and the Carthaxians had been exchanging weapons fire just days before. The airlock hissed open, and in floated, rather than walked, the grand exalted Krulax of the 7th Carthaxian Fleet. Jack's first thought was that Space Squid had been unfairly accurate. The alien had a bulbous head with large intelligent eyes, multiple tentacle-like appendages, and skin that shifted colors like an LED light show having a seizure. Currently, it was cycling between deep purple and an anxious yellow. Greetings, Earth representatives, the translator rendered in a surprisingly pleasant baritone. I am Grand Exalted Krulax, emissary of the Carthaxian Dominion, an appointed representative of the Galactic Council in this sector. Jack stepped forward, extending a hand before remembering the tentacle situation, and awkwardly converting the gesture into a stiff bow. Commander Jack Murphy, United Earth Space Force. And this is Lieutenant Zoe Rodriguez, Xenolinguistic Specialist. Krulax's color shifted to a curious blue. One tentacle extended, not toward Jack's hand, but toward his face, stopping inches away. Fascinating. You appear much less fearsome than the legends suggest. Jack blinked. Legends. Your species has been the subject of much discussion, in galactic circles, though many believed you were merely a cautionary myth. Zoe interjected before Jack could say something regrettable. We're quite real, as your fleet has discovered. Perhaps we could discuss why you felt it necessary to attack our planet without provocation. The alien's skin flashed a defensive red. Provocation. Your very existence is provocation enough. When our scouts confirmed the myth was reality, immediate containment was deemed necessary. Jack crossed his arms. So you shot Cleveland because you were scared of a myth. The alien's colors swirled in what the translator identified as embarrassment. We underestimated your response capabilities. This was unexpected. Yeah, well, Jack said with a humorless smile. Humanity's got a long history of being underestimated. Usually ends badly for the other guy. Krulax's skin settled into a thoughtful green as his many eyes studied Jack with newfound wariness. Perhaps we should discuss terms that would be mutually beneficial. Great idea, Jack replied, his smile not reaching his eyes. Let's start with you explaining exactly what these legends say about us, and why they've got you shooting first, and asking questions never. The alien's skin darkened to deep indigo. Very well, Commander. But I warn you, you may not like what you hear. Jack leaned back in his chair, the picture of forced casualness. Trust me, buddy, I already don't like any of this. But enlighten me anyway. Grand Exalted Krulax's tentacles rippled in what might have been nervousness as his skin cycled through various shades of purple. You must understand, he began, that the Galactic Council has maintained records of all potentially dangerous species for over 12 millennia. Your kind has a special designation. Let me guess, Jack said dryly. Extra dangerous with a side of unpredictable. The alien's colors flashed in surprise. Precisely. How did you? Lucky guess. Jack exchanged glances with Zoe. So what horrible things did we supposedly do to earn this reputation? We've barely left our own solar system. Krulax's translation device made an odd gurgling sound that might have been laughter. That is precisely what makes you so terrifying. Most species achieve interstellar travel only after evolving beyond violence. You humans still wage war against yourselves yet, have developed technologies capable of destroying your own civilization several times over. Zoe leaned forward, Fascination overriding diplomacy. You're saying most species become peaceful before developing advanced technology. Of course, it is the natural progression. Violence is inefficient and illogical. Most species abandon it during their equivalent of your Bronze Age. Jack snorted. Meanwhile, humans invented nuclear weapons before we figured out how to cure the common cold. Exactly. Krulax's skin brightened to an alarmed orange. The Kurthaxian dominion has existed for 20,000 of your years without a single internal violent conflict. So you decided to start with an external one, by attacking Earth? Jack asked pointedly. The alien's colors dimmed to an embarrassed pink. It was meant to be a simple containment operation, a show of force to compel your surrender, after which we would guide your species toward proper civilization. By blowing up Cleveland, a regrettable miscalculation, we targeted what appeared to be an unimportant settlement. Jack bit back a smile. Fair enough. But I'm still not clear on why you're so afraid of us. We haven't done anything to you. Krulax's tentacles twisted anxiously. Until recently, most believed humans were merely a cautionary myth. Stories told to juvenile Kurthaxians to encourage proper behavior. Behave, or the humans will come with their unpredictable emotions and chaotic decision-making. Zoe couldn't help but laugh. We're your boogeyman. If by boogeyman you mean terrifying mythological entity that defies rational understanding, then yes. Krulax's skin shifted to a contemplative blue. The legends describe a species that creates art about its own destruction, that thrives on challenge rather than comfort, that responds to threats by becoming more dangerous rather than more cautious. That sounds about right, Jack admitted. When our long-range scanners detected your nuclear weapons tests decades ago, the Council sent probes. The data they returned was disturbing. Your entertainment broadcasts alone suggested a species obsessed with conflict. Your history is an unbroken chain of warfare. And yet, Krulax's colors swirled in confusion. You also display inexplicable kindness. You risk your lives for unrelated members of your species. You form attachments to non-sentient creatures. You create beauty with no practical purpose. Jack shrugged. We contain multitudes. You are walking contradictions. And now we discover that despite your primitive shielding technology and laughably inefficient spacecraft, you somehow managed to disable 3 of our vessels using projectile weapons that haven't been seen in civilized space for millennia. Zoe tapped her tablet thoughtfully. Your shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, aren't they? Not physical objects. Krulax's skin flushed a humiliated teal. Energy weapons are the logical progression from projectiles. No spacefaring civilization has used physical ammunition in combat for thousands of years. The concept didn't even appear in our tactical simulations. Jack leaned back with a growing smile. So your advanced ships got taken out by what you consider antiques. It was unanticipated. Like the Combine Harvester, if a squid could wince, Krulax did. Our scout ship operator believed it was a primitive battle machine. He attempted evasive maneuvers but miscalculated the human vehicle's surprising speed and maneuverability. Jack couldn't help but laugh. A John Deere took out an alien spacecraft. That farmer's definitely getting a statue. The Council will not find this humorous, Commander. Krulax's colors darkened ominously. They sent us to assess the human threat. My report will now confirm your species is exactly as dangerous as the legends suggested, perhaps more so. Because we defended ourselves. Because you did so effectively, and with primitive technology. Do you have any idea what that implies about your potential if given access to advanced galactic technology? Jack opened his mouth to respond but was cut off by an urgent beeping from Krulax's communication device. The alien's colors drained to a pale, frightened white as he received the message. What is it? Zoe asked, noting the change. The Council has reviewed my preliminary report, Krulax said, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid color changes. They have escalated the situation. Jack's amusement vanished. Meaning, the full galactic armada has been dispatched to your solar system. They will arrive in 24 of your hours. To talk? Zoe asked hopefully. Krulax's skin settled into a somber gray. To eliminate the human threat, permanently. The emergency conference room aboard the International Space Station Plus had never been so crowded, or so tense, or Jack noted with mild interest, so diverse. Representatives from every major Earth power had been shuttled up on a hastily cobbled-together fleet of spacecraft that would have given safety inspectors multiple heart attacks. Let me get this straight, said General Harriet Wong of the United Earth Defense Force, her calm voice belying the vein throbbing in her forehead. An armada of advanced alien ships is on its way to wipe out humanity because we're too unpredictable. and our best diplomatic asset is a squid who's afraid we'll weaponize toasters if given the chance. Jack nodded. That's the gist of it, General. And they'll be here in, she checked her watch, 18 hours. 17 hours and 22 minutes, Zoe corrected, not looking up from her furious typing as she compiled everything they'd learned about the Carthaxians and the wider galactic community. Krulax floated nervously in the corner, his skin a medley of anxious yellows and greens. The alien had unexpectedly requested asylum after delivering his warning, claiming that his failure to contain the human threat would result in his molecular redistribution upon return to the Armada. The Galactic Council oversees 57 spacefaring civilizations, the alien explained. Each achieved peace before developing significant technology. Humans are an aberration. We get that part, Jack said, pacing the cramped conference room. What I don't understand is why they've been avoiding us if we're so dangerous. Why not contact us centuries ago? Krulax's colors shifted to a thoughtful blue. The Council's standard protocol for pre-FTL civilizations is non-interference until they either develop faster than light travel or pose an imminent threat to galactic stability. Human development has been accelerated. Most species take thousands of years to progress from simple tools to space travel. You did it in less than 10,000 years. President Elena Chavez, who had insisted on being present despite her security team's objections, leaned forward. And now they've decided we're too dangerous to exist. Your adaptability frightens them, Krulax said simply. Carthaxian scientists calculate that at your current rate of technological development, humans would surpass Council technology within 3 centuries. Your unpredictability combined with superior technology represents an existential threat. So they're trying to nip us in the bud, Jack muttered. General Wong slammed her fist on the table. We need to prepare for battle. Every missile, every fighter jet, every weapon we have. That won't be enough. Krulax's colors darkened. The Armada consists of 300 capital ships, each capable of sterilizing a continent. Your weapons, while surprisingly effective against our scout vessels due to their unconventional nature, cannot hope to repel such a force. The room fell silent. Jack looked around at the gathered representatives of humanity, scientists, soldiers, politicians, all facing extinction because they'd had the audacity to be good at adapting. There has to be another option, Zoe said finally. Diplomatic channels, negotiation. Krulax's skin rippled with what the translator interpreted as skepticism. The Council has already made its determination. The threat must be eliminated. Based on what? Jack demanded. Fear, assumptions. They don't even know us. They know enough, Krulax replied. They know humans fight wars over abstract concepts like religion and economic systems. They know you created weapons that could destroy your own planet before you developed reliable weather prediction. They know your entertainment glorifies conflict and rebellion. That's not all we are, President Chavez protested. No, Krulax agreed, his colors shifting to something almost sympathetic. But it is what they fear you might become if given access to galactic technology. A species with your adaptability, aggression, and ingenuity could potentially dominate the galaxy within millennia. Jack stopped pacing. Wait, they're not just afraid of what we are now, they're afraid of what we might become. Precisely. A slow smile spread across Jack's face, the kind of smile that had made seasoned astronaut trainers take an instinctive step back. Then we need to show them exactly what humanity becoming its worst self looks like. General Wong raised an eyebrow. I'm not following, Commander. It's simple, really. They're afraid we're dangerous and unpredictable, so let's lean into that. Hard. Zoe looked up from her tablet, understanding dawning. Psychological warfare. Exactly. Jack turned to Krulax. You said other species develop peace before technology. That means they've never really had to fight a war with advanced weapons, have they? The alien's colors swirled thoughtfully. Not for thousands of years, no. The Council maintains peace through overwhelming technological superiority and cultural consensus. So they've forgotten what real conflict looks like, Jack said, his smile growing wider. They've forgotten what happens when you corner a species that's survived by being meaner, tougher, and more resourceful than everything else on its planet. President Chavez looked concerned. You're suggesting we threaten them? With what? They outgun us by orders of magnitude. Not threaten, Madam President. Promise. Jack's eyes gleamed. They're coming to wipe us out because they're afraid of what we might do. I say we show them exactly why that fear is justified. You want to bluff the entire Galactic Council? General Wong asked incredulously. It's not a bluff if you're willing to follow through, Jack replied. And when it comes to survival, there's nothing humans won't do. Krulax's skin had gone pale with what might have been horror. "What are you proposing, Commander?" Jack turned to the alien, his expression deadly serious. "I'm proposing we tell the Galactic Council exactly what will happen if they try to exterminate us. That we stop pretending to be civilized." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. 24 hours, Jack continued quietly. "That's how long we have to prepare humanity's response to an existential threat. That's how long we have to remind the galaxy why they were right to fear us in the first place. This is either the most brilliant plan in human history, or the stupidest thing I've ever heard," General Wong said, pinching the bridge of her nose. "And I once watched a lieutenant try to microwave a can of beans in the Pentagon break room." The next 6 hours had been a whirlwind of activity, while the world's militaries mobilized, mostly for show, given what they were up against. Jack had assembled what he called his apocalypse think tank, a motley crew of military strategists, historians, anthropologists, psychologists, and somewhat controversially, 3 award-winning science fiction authors, and a Hollywood special effects supervisor. "Fear is universal," explained Dr. Meera Patel, the Oxford-educated xenoanthropologist who'd been studying the limited data on Carthaxian biology and culture. "Even species with vastly different evolutionary paths develop some form of fear response. The Galactic Council fears us because we're unpredictable and aggressive by their standards. We need to weaponize that perception." They had commandeered the luxury dining hall of the space station. Holographic displays showed Earth's combined military assets, woefully inadequate, the approaching armada terrifyingly massive, and a rapidly growing presentation titled, "Why You Should Really Reconsider Messing with Humans," currently on slide 47. "The problem," Jack said, pacing around the central table, "is that we can't actually fight them and win. Not conventionally. But conventional isn't humanity's strong suit anyway." Zoe looked up from her station where she'd been working with linguistics experts to ensure their message would translate correctly across alien communication systems. "The Carthaxians, and by extension the Council, have been monitoring our broadcasts for decades. They're scared of us based on our movies, our news, our history, which means they don't understand context." Jack nodded. "They can't tell the difference between Independence Day and CNN." Krulax, who had been providing invaluable insights into Council psychology, rippled his tentacles in agreement. "Most Council species communicate primarily through direct thought transfer or strictly factual information exchange. The human concept of fiction is difficult for many to grasp. The idea that you create detailed scenarios about things that never happened is disturbing. So they've been watching our movies and thinking they're documentaries?" President Chavez asked incredulously. "Not exactly." Krulax's skin flushed an embarrassed pink. "But the distinction is unclear. Why would a species create elaborate falsehoods unless they represent desired realities or feared possibilities?" Jack grinned. "That's perfect. They already think we're violence-obsessed lunatics with a death wish. We just need to convince them that they haven't seen anything yet. We need to show them humanity's potential at its most terrifying," agreed Major Devin Williams, the psychological warfare specialist, who'd been brought in from some shadowy agency no one wanted to name. "Make them believe that attacking Earth would unleash something far worse than anything they're currently imagining." "Exactly." Jack snapped his fingers. "Zoe, what's the status on that compilation?" She gestured to a nearby screen where a team was assembling what could only be described as humanity's greatest hits, of looking absolutely terrifying. Nuclear tests, military parades, mixed martial arts competitions, the running of the bulls, Black Friday sales. "We're overlaying it with the most intimidating music we could find," Zoe explained. "Carmina Burana, Metallica, and the theme from Jaws. Perfect. And the historical package." Dr. Herman Schultz, a military historian, with an impressive beard and even more impressive collection of bow ties, cleared his throat. "We've compiled data on every major human conflict, with special emphasis on asymmetric warfare, guerrilla tactics, and cases where technologically inferior forces defeated superior ones. Vietnam, Afghanistan, the American Revolution, times when humans faced overwhelming odds, and still prevailed through sheer tenacity and adaptability." Jack nodded appreciatively. "And the special sauce?" This was where Dr. Patel stepped in again. "Based on Krulax's information about Council psychology, we've identified their fundamental fears about humanity. They're terrified of our combination of technological capability and emotional decision-making. So we're emphasizing how those traits make us not just dangerous but unpredictable. The key," Major Williams added, "is making them believe that destroying Earth wouldn't end the threat. It would remove all restraints from the humans who survive." Make them think we have contingency plans to spread throughout the galaxy, driven by revenge, with nothing left to lose. Krulax, who had been listening to all this with increasingly pale skin coloration, finally spoke up. You're proposing to convince the most powerful military force in the known galaxy that killing humans will only make things worse. Exactly, Jack grinned. We're going to tell them that we've been playing nice, and they really don't want to see what happens when we stop. President Chavez looked troubled. But this is all bluster. If they call our bluff, it's not entirely a bluff, interrupted General Wong. She pressed a button on her tablet, and a new hologram appeared, showing a series of classified orbital platforms and deep space probes that definitely weren't on any public record. Humanity has been preparing for existential threats for decades. Not aliens specifically, but we've developed some insurance policies. Jack whistled. Those aren't in my security briefings. They wouldn't be, Commander. Project Pandora has been compartmentalized across 15 national security agencies. Let's just say that while we can't defeat an armada head-on, we could make victory extremely costly. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. So we're really doing this, Zoe said finally. We're going to threaten the Galactic Council with mutually assured destruction. Not destruction, Jack corrected. Chaos. We're threatening them with exactly what they fear most: unpredictable, adaptable, vengeful humans with nothing left to lose, scattered throughout their neat, orderly galaxy. Krulax's skin had shifted to a deep, troubled blue. This might actually work. The Council values order above all else. The prospect of unpredictable human survivors causing asymmetric damage throughout civilized space for centuries to come, it would be their worst nightmare. Then let's make it vivid for them, Jack said, turning to address the entire room. We have less than 12 hours before the Armada arrives. I want our message ready in 6. Make it clear, make it convincing, and make it terrifying. He paused, looking at the holographic display of Earth, small, blue and defiant in the face of annihilation. It's time to remind the galaxy why humans are the monsters under their beds. The Galactic Armada arrived precisely on schedule, 300 capital ships materializing at the edge of the solar system in a display of technological superiority that would have been impressive if it wasn't so terrifying. Each vessel dwarfed anything humanity had ever built, bristling with weapons that could reduce planets to molten slag. Well, Jack remarked as he gazed at the tactical display, they certainly know how to make an entrance. He stood alone in a small communication pod that had been hurriedly attached to the International Space Station Plus. The pod had been Krulax's idea, a symbolic neutral ground that would register to the Council as a proper diplomatic venue rather than a military installation. Transmission ready, Commander. Zoe's voice came through his earpiece. She and the rest of the team were monitoring from the main station. The Council's Supreme Adjudicator has agreed to receive our message before they, quote, commence cleansing operations. How generous of them, Jack muttered. He straightened his uniform, took a deep breath and nodded. Let's do this. The communication screen flickered to life, revealing what appeared to be a council chamber of bizarre proportions and geometry. Various alien species, some vaguely humanoid, others defying easy description, surrounded a central figure whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. This, according to Krulax, was the Supreme Adjudicator, a being from one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Human representative. The Adjudicator's voice was transmitted directly into Jack's mind rather than through his ears, an unsettling sensation. Your species has been deemed an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. This communication is merely a courtesy before we implement the Council's judgment. Jack smiled, not the diplomatic smile he'd practiced, but the wolfish grin that had gotten him into trouble throughout his military career. Supreme Adjudicator, members of the Galactic Council, I am Commander Jack Murphy of Earth. I understand you're here to exterminate my species, because you're afraid of what we might become. He paused, letting the translator catch up and noting with satisfaction the ripple of discomfort among the assembled aliens at his bluntness. Before you proceed, there's something you should know about humans. Throughout our history, we've been predators, survivors and warriors, but we've also been builders, creators and dreamers. We contain multitudes, cruelty and kindness, destruction and creation, war and peace. Jack tapped a control, sending the first package of data they'd prepared. Humanity's achievements in art, science, medicine, and cooperation. This is who we are at our best. We cure diseases, we create beauty, we help strangers expecting nothing in return. We've pulled children from burning buildings and dived into frozen lakes to save animals that aren't even our own species. We donate blood to people we'll never meet, and send aid to countries we'll never visit. He let that sink in before continuing. But that's not why you're here. You're here because of this. The second data package streamed across warfare, nuclear tests, environmental damage, the darker side of human history. You've monitored our broadcasts. You've seen our conflicts. You know we can be violent, aggressive, and irrational. What you don't understand is that we've been actively suppressing these tendencies. What you've witnessed is humanity pretending to be civilized. The adjudicator's bioluminescence flickered in what might have been confusion. Explain. For thousands of years, we've been developing social structures, moral codes, and cultural norms, specifically designed to contain our most dangerous impulses. We created laws, religions, ethics, all to keep our darker nature in check. The relatively peaceful planet you observe today, that's not our natural state, it's the result of constant deliberate effort. Jack leaned closer to the camera, his voice dropping to a near whisper, and you're about to remove all of those restraints. He sent the third package, the one they'd spent most time on. Detailed scenarios of what post-apocalyptic human survivors might do, guerrilla warfare tactics, hidden colonies, generational revenge plans, sleeper ships carrying human embryos programmed to hatch and seek vengeance centuries later. Technological deadman switches designed to spread chaos throughout the galaxy. If you attack Earth, you won't eliminate the human threat, you'll create something much worse. Billions will die, yes, but those who survive, they'll have nothing left to lose. No homes to protect, no civilization to maintain, no reason to pretend anymore. Jack's expression hardened. We'll scatter like a virus through your orderly galaxy. We'll adapt to environments you can't survive in. We'll use technologies in ways you never imagined. We'll fight asymmetrically, unpredictably, across generations if necessary. Your peaceful species don't understand what true desperation creates. You've forgotten what it means to fight for survival because you haven't had to for millennia. The council chamber had gone deathly silent. Even the adjudicator's bioluminescence had stilled. Here's humanity's one and only warning to the Galactic Council: stop attacking or we stop pretending to be civilized. Jack let the words hang in the silence before continuing softly. The choice is simple. Option 1: you leave our solar system and recognize Earth's sovereignty. We continue our development at our own pace. We establish diplomatic relations on equal footing. We share our unique perspectives and you share your technology. Humanity joins the galactic community as partners, not subjects. He paused, then delivered the alternative. Option 2: you attack. You kill billions of us, and the survivors ensure that for the next 1,000 years every member of the Galactic Council lives in fear of the day the humans find them. Jack straightened up, his voice calm and final. We prefer option 1, but make no mistake, we're fully prepared for option 2. You have 1 hour to decide which version of humanity you want to deal with. Without waiting for a response, Jack cut the transmission. In the sudden silence of the communication pod, he let out a long, shaky breath. He just delivered humanity's final ultimatum to the most powerful force in the galaxy, armed with nothing but the truth about human nature and the hope that it would be terrifying enough. The longest 47 minutes of human history followed. Then, without warning or further communication, the Galactic Armada began to move. Not toward Earth but away, each massive ship turning in unison before vanishing into faster-than-light travel with flashes of light that briefly outshone the sun. They're leaving. Zoe's disbelieving voice came through the comm. It worked, Jack said quietly, watching as the last ships disappeared. They believed us. Krulax, who had been monitoring Council communications, confirmed it moments later. The Council has voted to recognize Earth's sovereign status and establish formal diplomatic relations. They are requesting a buffer period of 1 local year before sending representatives. They're scared, Zoe realized. Good, Jack said, finally allowing himself to smile. A healthy dose of fear might be the foundation for mutual respect. As the implications of what had just occurred sank in, Jack found himself gazing at the blue-green planet below. Humanity had just bluffed its way onto the galactic stage, not through superior technology or military might, but by being exactly what the Council feared most: unpredictable, adaptable, and just threatening enough to be taken seriously. You know what the best part is? Jack said as Zoe and President Chavez joined him in the observation deck later, Earth gleaming like a jewel below them. What's that, Commander? The President asked. We never actually lied to them. Everything we said about humanity was true. The good, the bad, all of it. And that's what scared them most, Zoe nodded. Not our weapons or our technology but our potential for both creation and destruction. Jack smiled as he watched the continents rotate slowly beneath them, billions of humans going about their lives, unaware of how close they'd come to extinction, or that their fundamental nature had been their salvation. Let's hope they choose to deal with our better angels, President Chavez said quietly. They will, Jack replied with certainty. But it doesn't hurt that they know we have devils on our shoulders too. As Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, humanity had unknowingly secured its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as the galaxy's most unpredictable variable. A species containing both the capacity for tremendous good and terrifying darkness. A species that had saved itself by promising to stop pretending to be civilized, while proving, in that very moment, that it had become civilized enough to avoid having to prove it.